Hey, here we go again. All right, here we go again. Yeah, we're gonna get another one out here because I want to, when I'm able to, I want to keep them rolling, and I want to take a moment at the beginning of this one to send up some thanks for some beautiful cards I've received from Judy and Spirit. And Judy, I sure hope you're dug out over there. Man, y'all got pounded. And then I do want to also let me interject here. My apologies if I have not put it out there. I've made videos that haven't went up because, like I say, it's corrupted or this or that, or I just ain't had time. But I don't have a PO box anymore. But I have got my cards that you've sent from Judy and Spirit, and then I got one from Naomi. So I say that in case y'all have sent one there and you haven't seen me with it. It'll be coming. It may be late, but that's because I had the forwarding stuff. But Naomi, over there at Naomi's Adventures, you go. She's put up all kinds of beautiful night Christmas light displays, which I really appreciate because I haven't got to get out and see any this year. And then I got one from G-Ma and Papa. Yeah. And, yep, I've missed them and their Friday funnies. Awesome, awesome, folks. And then I got one from Exploring with Bonnie. Y'all want to see some creepy, weird, wild, unbelievable places? Her and Naomi both. If you want to see some wild stuff. And they're Ohioans. They're in the upper part of Ohio. But Exploring with Bonnie sent me this really, really cool card with the lighthouse on it, and I love it. I love it. I love it. And I have a lighthouse fetish, so this was like really, really special. They're all really, really special. Don't let me get y'all confused. But anyway, let's get on to the windows of Christmas, and we're on Anna or Anna, because it's a breakdown from, it's a New Testament version of Hannah from the Old Testament. But we are on her consistent priorities. Boy, this time of year you really gotta have some priorities. Actually, every day you gotta have priorities. But here we go. Anna's priorities. What we are committed to speaks loudly about who we are and what we value. For Anna, it was simple. Her priority, her goal, was pleasing God. Although no prophets had been heard from since the days of Malachi, Anna is called a prophetess. Luke doesn't describe the nature of her prophetic ministry or the content of her prophetic message. But he offers unquestioned affirmation that she was a spokeswoman for God to her generation. After over 400 years of prophetic silence, God chose a widow with a heart for him to reopen his declarative expression to the world. In conjunction with the apparently public prophetic ministry, however, Anna was also participated in private worship that testified to a life devoted to God. She never left the temple, serving night and day with fastings and prayers. Luke writes in chapter 2, verse 37. What does that mean? In Be Compassionate, Warren Wiersbe says that she was so committed to waiting for the coming of the Lord that she had moved from her homeland with the tribe of Asher to Jerusalem and remained at the temple. Others say it merely means that she was a regular presence at the temple, always attending the services there. Either way, she was a fixture at the house of God and committed to spiritual discipline. Anna's life was a model of personal devotion continually worshiping her God and continually praying and fasting. This dear woman, whose love for God was the driving force in her life, is painted in brief but powerful words by William Barclay. She had known sorrow, but she had not grown bitter. She was old, but she had never ceased to hope. She never ceased to worship. She never ceased to pray. In a life situation that could easily have driven her from God, Anna allowed her heart to be drawn to God. And her years of faithfulness were rewarded. For she was in her customary place, the temple, and maintaining her consistent priorities of worship, prayer, and fasting. When the little family from Nazareth entered the temple to fulfill the demands of the law required by the birth of Jesus, the occasion of witness. At critical moments in history, when the right person is matched with the right event, remarkable things happen. Such a person was Anna, prepared by decades of spiritual devotion. She was in the right place at precisely the right time. At that very moment, she came up and began giving thanks to God and continued to speak of him to all those who were looking for the redemption of Jerusalem. As recorded in Luke chapter 2, verse 38. That very moment, it's a critical phrase here. In one sense, what Anna was doing was merely the continuation of what she had done for almost 60 years. She was going to the temple to worship. Yet, that is what makes it so remarkable. She had been doing it for some 60 years. Imagine what would have happened had she decided, I'm tired. I've been doing this for years. I think I'll take the day off and stay home. But she didn't. And her faithfulness to God positioned her in the temple at the very moment that Simeon took the Christ child from Mary's arms and lifted him up, declaring him to be Israel's long-awaited, long-hoped-for Messiah. This was no mere coincidence, writes Herbert Lockyer, in all the women of the Bible. Through her long pilgrimage, day after day, Anna went to the temple to pray for the coming of the Messiah. And though he seemed to tarry, she waited for him, believing he would come. Then one day, the miracle happened. For as she entered the temple, she heard sounds of exultation and joy proceeding from the inner court, and then from the lips of the venerable Simon. She heard the words, Now, Lord, lettest thou thy servant depart in peace, for mine eyes have seen thy salvation, gazing upon the Holy Child, who is none other than her long-looked-for Messiah. Anna, too, was ready to depart in peace and be joined with her husband above. I love that. Anna's years of faithfulness had been rewarded in a moment of celebration, in the right place, at the right time. She saw the Christ. But she didn't stop with worshiping and giving thanks. She bore witness to what she seen. the message of witness. Let's go on. All of her life, Anna had been a faithful worshiper and a prophetess, but now her role shifted and she became a missionary. She began giving thanks to God and continued to speak of Him, of Jesus, to all who were looking for the redemption of Jerusalem, as is told in Luke chapter 2, verse 38. As Herbert Lockyer says, Anna was one of the godly remnant in Israel who, through centuries, even in the darkest days before Christ came, looked for the dayspring from on high. Thus, as she heard Simeon's praise for prophecy fulfilled, she went out to her godly intimates to declare the glad tidings. Good news is not to be secreted away. It is to be shared. And Anna shared the good news boldly. And her good news was redemption has come. The New Testament uses several words that are translated redemption. Redemption explains James Montgomery Boyce in The Christ of Christmas, and all have to do with the freeing of the slaves. You see, we were all slaves at one point. Agorazo, referring to the agora or the marketplace, where oftentimes slaves were bought and sold. Once purchased, the slave, exagorazo, bought out of, or ex to the marketplace, agora, never to be sold there again. Instead, that slave was to be law, literally cut loose and given his freedom. In Anna's message of glad tidings, Jerusalem is portrayed as the center of the world. But the redemption of Israel also represents the reality of the human condition. The Bible describes every human being as being enslaved to sin without hope in the world. But Christ, being proclaimed by Anna, however, had come to set free that lost human race. He came to bring redemption. Lutrosis, from luo, or to loose. Deliverance and rescue from sin and its penalty. Just as Hosea in the Old Testament prophet, out of the depths of redeeming love, went to the slave market to purchase his disgraced wife, Gomer, and make her his own once more. Jesus Christ came to the slave market of this broken world, and he purchased his bride with a redemption sufficient for the sin of the entire world. Anna's message was one of hope, joy, and freedom. After decades of anticipating the coming of the Redeemer King, she now found herself living in a world where this Christ had finally come. The promise had been fulfilled. So she gave thanks and went out to tell everyone who would listen that freedom and forgiveness and redemption were now available, for Christ had come. It is the message that missionaries have been taking to the uttermost parts of the earth ever since. Looking through Anna's window, we see a reminder from the prophetess of the truth and meaning behind all the chaos and confusion that we amiably call Christmas. Christmas is not merely the story of the birth of a helpless baby in a stable, writes James Montgomery Boyce. As beautiful as that may be, not the wonder of the shepherds, not the gifts of the wise men, not the enraptured singing of the angel chorus. The heart of Christmas lies in the fact that God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. As we read in the book of John, the 3rd chapter, the 16th verse. In the midst of all the stuff that surrounds our celebration of Christmas, it's far too easy to forget that the first Christmas happened because our sin demanded payment. And only Christ himself could make a payment sufficient to cancel our debt. While it may be fun to celebrate the holiday with gifts and ornaments and candles and parties, the holy day of Christmas is really about the rescue and the redemption of mankind. Anna knew that, and she told her world. May we be willing to make part of our celebration of the birth of Christ a commitment to tell our world as well. For the world needs to know that, in a familiar old song, living, he loved me. Dying, he saved me. Buried, he carried my sins far away. Rising, he justified freely forever. One day he's coming. Oh, glorious day. That's right. That's right. Our freedom came at Christmas night. But yet it just hadn't been fulfilled. But as we look forward, today we truly celebrate freedom. We've truly been set free from slavery, bought, just as they did when he went to buy his wife Gomer. Christ came and bought us. And by law, we are no longer, we're set free. But we still have to choose. We have to choose to accept the gift that was given on that very first Christmas night. Yeah, y'all. Yeah. There's still going to be one more after this one. But I hope, man, your spirits is bubbling with joy like mine is. Because the more I've read and the more we've come to the end of this book, man, I am more in love with the spirit of the season, the true Christmas gift, than I could ever have imagined that I would ever have been able to have said more than before. But there'll be one more. We're going to do our window on Christmas, and that'll be next. This one's a little long, but I wanted to run through the rest of Anna. There's a lot of Annas out there, and I want y'all to know there's many of us that are Annas. You know, We live a life that the world views isn't perfect or isn't the way it should be, or there's something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us. We have found the true joy and happiness in serving Christ. I love y'all. And God, He loves us all so much. All. ALL. No exclusions.